Well, go on, everybody. Lennox here from S123 Trader. This is the weekly Playbook Outlook for January 31st to February 5th. Hope everybody's doing well and are safe. Okay, I'm going to take a look at all the futures and see what's shaping up for this week. Starting off with the Australian dollar. Let's take a look at Australian dollar. This is on the weekly time frame, and as you can see, as I expected from last week, that we would get a little bit of a lull here because we were at a critical point. And let me just go to the monthly. And on the monthly, what we're seeing is that we were very close to resistance, and indeed did come into the resistance area ever so slightly. However, I don't think we're done, and I think we're going to still continue pushing to the upside. So we'll take a closer look on the weekly time frame. And what I'm seeing here is the current move has taken us up, and this is why we're getting that lull. We're coming back down. However, we might be complete at this point, and we'd be looking to continue to the upside going forward this week. So, of course, weekly we're just looking at one bar. So, that bar could possibly take us back up here. So, a closer look at it. Let me just see. We could probably be looking at something. We could finish. We could possibly finish the week up back to the highs. That's a total possibility there. So on the daily time frame, again we've come back down to the previous lows, and looking perhaps to make a move back up to resistance this week. So Australian dollar looking a little bit strong going into this week. All right, so that would be the takeaway for Australian dollar. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin on the weekly also in that same type of lull area, a little retrace, and looking at it on the daily time frame, it's also looking to push to the upside, and this pullback is just a slight opportunity and pullback retrace, giving anyone who wants to buy an opportunity to get in now to take a ride to the upside. So looking for Bitcoin to move to the upside going into this week as well. Okay, we'll take a look at crude oil, and on the weekly, also crude oil took a little bit of a lull going sideways, and it's right in line with previous support resistance. Boy, I drew that line quite well. And we're looking for crude oil to push up to this level, and going forward, of course, one bar we're looking at this week, and that might just give us a little push above. But let's take a closer look on the daily. We're still in a very choppy area. Possible expected move here might be something akin to a move back up to resistance here again. Okay, so looking for crude oil to make a little bit of a move to the upside going into this week as well. Okay, let's take a look at the US dollar. Oh, actually, the Canadian dollar first. On the weekly, okay, let's go to the monthly. I want to see you over to my left. Okay, so on the monthly, here's our resistance area. We are very close to touching that area, very close. And so I expect further push to the upside coming into this week. This is the monthly, so let's drop down to the weekly. And again, we were in a bit of a lull area, so I'm expecting a move back up into this area of resistance for the Canadian dollar. Right, so dropping to the daily, okay, you can see that we came back down into the previous low, and now we're looking to push out and up, back up to the resistance area. So a little strength going into this week for the Canadian dollar. Okay, now let's take a look at the US dollar, and on the weekly time frame, let's go to the monthly time frame. Okay, so US dollar, we hit very close to. It is the first line of defense was here. We got right in there, almost to the lowest portion. Do we have another drop, or are we bound to go to bounce? Is the key question here for the U.S. dollar. So dropping to the weekly. So this week, it's looking to me like we're gonna continue down. So we might get a little bit of a push to the upside first, a little fake out as it were, but more than likely we're going to be heading back down again. It is possible we could even come back way back up to here, but likelihood not so strong on that. Let's go to the daily and we'll have a better look at it. Okay, so on the daily, this is a line of defense right now. We came very close to it. We could even say this area here, and we might get a little push, a little fake out to the upside, but other than that, I think we're going to be heading back down one more time. Okay, so a little bit of hesitation in the beginning of the week, perhaps, but more likely downside for the U.S. dollar. Looking at the euro on the weekly, on the monthly. Okay, so the euro, it also came into previous resistance very strongly, and now it took a little breather, and let's see how it's shaping up on the weekly. So we're looking for one bar here this week, and I'm expecting a move back up in resistance. Okay, so continued strength in the euro going into this week. It looks good, and I would be definitely looking for that move back up to resistance. Okay. And just take a look at the Swiss franc on the weekly, on the monthly. Okay, so Swiss franc it's already broken through these highs and came back down into this support area, and it's pushing back up. So my expectations for further moves to the upside, but we might have a little bit of a lull going into this week. So again, we're just looking for one bar this week, and what is that one bar going to do? We're pointing red right now, so it looks like maybe we can come back down to challenge this area before we get a bounce back up. It's totally possible. Let's take a closer look at it from the daily, and indeed we're on our way down. However, how far down are we going to go? Hard to say. We could come all the way down to this level before we bounce again. We might just come to this level before we bounce again. It's going to be a little bit of weakness in the Swiss franc coming into this week. Okay, let's take a look at gold and weekly. Okay, so gold has been in this sideways funk for a while. Looks like it's done at this point, and we should be pushing back out and breaking this this level. So going into this week, again, we're looking at one bar, so I would expect a move back, perhaps back up into resistance area as well for gold. So a little bit of strength going into this week for gold. Okay, it looks like we've finished this move down, and now we're looking to push back out and up. Okay, let's take a look at the Japanese yen. And we've hit pretty close to a previous high, and now we're pulling back very strongly at this moment in time. So Japanese yen showing some weakness coming into this week. I would expect further weakness. We could come back down to this area. We could even maybe come a little lower, but a push back down is definitely in the cards before we turn around. So weakness in the Japanese yen, it looks very likely to continue and could take us back down to, oh, now I can't draw lines anymore, back down to this area before we, if any, bounce at all. So weakness in the Japanese yen going into this week. Okay, let's take a look at the New Zealand dollar, and we'll go to the monthly. And with New Zealand, we're right at a resistance of previous resistance area. And are we done? Might be done at this point on this move. So let's take a look at the weekly. So again, we're looking for one bar. Are we going to push higher? Are we going to push through, or are we done? It looks like we're going to push through, but I don't know if we want to break that high. So on the daily, let's take a closer look. Yes, we're pushing to the upside. We might get back here. Don't know if we're going to break through this week or not, but a little bit of strength in New Zealand going into this week, similar to the Aussie. Okay. Let's take a look at the Mexican peso on the monthly. Okay, wow. That's on the monthly, we're just touching previous resistance now. So we're getting a little pullback. So are we going to continue going down is the question, or are we going to push higher? So basically, we are at a pretty interesting area. We've had a pullback very close to a previous support. So we could be looking for another push back up. So on the weekly here, one bar could take us back up to the previous highs. Okay, so again, on the weekly, looks like we're going to be pushing back up. So let's take a closer look on the daily. And yes, quite the move down. We might be done at this point, and we could be looking for a move back to the upside here. It's very close to being done. We could, of course, drop a little further, but looking like Mexican peso might have a little bit of strength going into this week. It's totally possible there. Okay, let's take a look at the British pound on monthly. British pound has come right into previous resistance. We've got a wide area here, so there's still lots of room for it to continue to the upside, and it's in a little bit of a lull state. So we're looking for one bar for this week, and again, I would be giving it a push to the upside, and so strength for the British pound, getting us out of this little funk that it's been in for a while here now. See, it's been attempting to break through here for quite a while, but it's just unable to. But maybe this might be the time this week that it will finally do that. Okay, let's take a look at silver on the monthly. Okay, so silver, quite the push. So we came back down, and now we're pushing back. We're back at resistance. This is on the monthly. Wow. So on the weekly, quite the move. Is this sustainable? Is it going to continue? Is the key question. Is it going to continue? We're right at resistance now. It looks pretty strong. It's going to take quite something to pull this back down. So right now we could get a little bit of a lull before we continue, but it looks pretty strong. So I would give silver the heads up for a continued move to the upside this week. Okay, let's take a look at the U.S. Small cap, Russell 2000, and this also very strong to the upside. It's going to take a lot to bring this down, but we had a bit of like last week I was saying we were at a critical point and we could get a little bit of a pullback before we continued, and I thought maybe it could even drop even to this area. However, it looks like it might be over that little move down, and we are continuing to the upside. So we came very close to that area, and now looking like we're going to push back up. So for this week, continued strength in the Russell 2000. And again, that's going to all depend on of course, on the earnings, and if those pick up and we get some good positive results from some of these companies. The Dow also had quite the pullback. Let's go to the monthly on that one. Very strong, but we had that pullback last week. So on the weekly, there's the pullback. It looks like we're done. We came very close to previous support resistance area. You can see it's right across, and now we're bouncing back to the upside. So on the weekly, one bar, I'm expecting a move back up into resistance. Okay, so on the daily time frame, again, a quick turn. It's totally possible that we could get a bounce back up, but it might not be sustainable. It could come back down again, but this is a very critical area right here. So expecting further move to the upside for this week, however. So we'll see if that plays out. The S&P 500 would be similar. So also on the monthly, we've got a indecision bar, as they call it, the spinning top. And so the expected move would be to the downside, but is it sustainable to the downside? So right now, to me, it doesn't look like it's sustainable. We could come out as low as this area here before we go, but right now it's looking like it wants to turn around. So again, we're looking at one bar for the week, and I would look for bars to go back up to resistance. So dropping to the daily, again, we're a very critical area here, and looks like we might be ready for a bounce back up into resistance this week. Okay. And last but not least, the U.S. technology sector. We can get that to come up. U.S. technology. Okay, on the monthly, it's looking just like the US 500. We got a spinning top, and again, are we done, or are we going to fall further? So the key move here this week looks again for strength. I'm looking at strength, one bar to the continue to the upside. So dropping to the daily on this, you can see that we've come back down to previous resistance support area, and I would expect price to continue back up into resistance for this week. All right, so that's a look at all the majors and how all the currencies and futures and how they're setting up for this week. So profitable trading to everyone. Be safe. I'm done now. Thank you.